Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about growing up a child of a hoarder part 3. Um in my last video I talked about what the house was like, what it was like to live in that type of environment, and to pretty much sum that up, um you accept what you accept your environment because you have no other choice when you're living in that type of environment. um but you feel very ashamed. Okay, as a child of a hoarder, I felt very ashamed. That's the best way to describe it. um and I also felt very isolated, very very alone. Okay, very alone and very unloved. Um, so tonight we're going to talk about my father and how he dealt with it. My father had extreme codependency issues. My dad was not an intelligent person. Um, I would have to say my dad was cognitively stunted. I think that he was capable of doing more, but he was stunted in the aspect of education, and the fact that my grandmother was too enabling. Okay, I love the woman, don't get me wrong, my dad's mom, but she was too enabling. Okay. um and my father just accepted anything that my mother did. I mean, it didn't matter how awful it was. My father accepted it to the point where my mother knew this, and that's why she did it. Um, he used to fight with her, and their fights used to get physical ever since when I was little, and when I was real little, like of tender years, I used to be scared because you see your parents and they're fighting terrible. Of course, the house didn't look like the horde that it had become in later years, and as a level 5 horde, but it was extremely cluttery and still embarrassing, back in the old days. But during the tender years of my life, my parents and my grandparents were neighbors, and my grandmother used to come over and like give a lot of structure to my mom to try to get her to do the right thing, like throw stuff out, keep the place neat. Your kids need a bath. You gotta like, she used to push her to do her mother to do motherly things, because if not, the Department of Human Services is what it's called here in Philadelphia, would have put us in foster care. Definitely, without a doubt, would have put us in foster care. Because the things that my mother did back in the day would never fly in today's living. Like, um, I was told a story, when I got older. My grandmother told me that my mom and her girlfriend, this was before I was born, my brother was born, he was an infant, they had went out for the afternoon, and my brother was an infant in the crib home by himself, and my grandmother had to go in there and save the day, and take the baby, and oh my god, how could you do this, and there was like that whole all that issue and stuff. And my grandmother had told me this when I became an adult, and started asking questions about things that about my mother. My grandmother told me. And so yeah, my father, like, he didn't, like, he knew that there was something not right with her, okay, obviously, but he still put up with it, and over the years it got worse. Not only in the hoarding aspect, not only in that aspect, but in the other aspect as well, the aspect of, um, what do you call it? Things in their marriage that were inappropriate. For example, like in 1983, yeah, it was 83. My little sister was 2 years old. I was 15 when my youngest sister was born. And my mother just dumped her on my grandmother's doorstep, like she had no interest in children. It was all about her. Like, how dare you, um, how dare you need care, need my attention, need me to do for you. It doesn't matter that you're a helpless infant, it just there was just nothing maternal about her. No, no. Um, she was very disconnected emotionally, is what I'm saying. Okay, and she was like that with my father. So my mother, uh, in 1983, decided to have an affair with this older gentleman named Irving. Okay, he's deceased right now. All these people are gone, so there's no way that it would cause any harm to anyone. But she had an affair with this man named Irving, this old man who was like 25 years her senior. And the reason why was for this, okay, for the money, okay. And she wasn't interested in leaving my father, like she was perfectly fine with carrying on that thing. And at first, my father was enraged about it, but then, like, when Irving was like paying all the bills, my dad was like, "Oh, I'm on board with this." And they even went on vacation together, all three of them, my dad, my mom, and my mom's lover, okay? So, yeah. Yeah, so it was a very effed up family dynamic, okay? On the one hand, he would complain that she was doing all this to him, but he didn't do anything about it. And my father was a major contributor to me having my nervous breakdown, which required in hospital care for me. Um, yeah, back in, when did I have that breakdown? 2002. Because I had gotten into such a state of depression and hopelessness. Like, it's like I just wanted to get away from these people, and I felt like I could never escape them. You know what I'm saying? It was like they just me, especially my father. He just constantly dumped his baggage on me, and my therapist at the time would tell me, you need to not answer your door, not answer your phone, not you need to disconnect from these people, otherwise you're not going to survive. Okay, what had happened was I almost jumped out of my second story window of my house at the time where I was living and almost killed myself because I just couldn't take it anymore. It was that severe. And I couldn't believe that my mind had gotten into that state of depression. And when I got away from them, um, it got better. It got better. At the time, I was living in my maternal grandmother's old house, okay? And the house was falling down. It was never sold. My mother turned that into a hoard. I cleaned up the hoard, but the house was falling down. Like, the plumbing was bad. It had holes in the walls. It was just not livable, not rentable, not anything. And my mother used to, like, smear me to people and say how I was living in quote unquote her house and not paying rent. And, like, she had confronted me about that, and I had said to her, if you want rent, we could go to court, and I'll gladly go to landlord tenant court with you, and I'm going to show the landlord tenant court the conditions of this house, and it's not rentable. I'm paying taxes. I put out money for new carpeting. I put out money for a plumber. It cost me almost $2,000 to fix the plumbing just to have running water in the place. And you want rent? You want rent? Okay. You always seem to, like, and that's what she used to do. She always used to, like, tell people stories to present herself as this victim. Her daughter's taking advantage of her. She's this victim and everything. But I had a side of the story too. Okay? And I suffered. And my kids suffered. And I not only suffered, we not only suffered um, with coping with her nonsense, but aside from that, like she didn't come over like that. Like my dad was like out on the doorstep constantly, constantly at my doorstep, you know, and he felt like he there was an open invitation to come in and out anytime he wanted because it was his house, it was his wife's house, even though it was my maternal grandmother's. Technically, he was right, okay, but he was another person that didn't respect boundaries, okay. The fact that I wanted to have my own life, I wanted to be away from these people. They were psychotic, you know. They weren't suffering from psychosis, but they were crazy, okay. They were crazy. They were um dysfunctional, crazy, psychotic, okay. And I just wanted out of it, and it affected my relationships, okay. Like he was one of the reasons why um any potential relationship I would have with the man got scared off. And the fact that I never dealt with my own codependency and neediness, okay, because I did have codependency issues. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And the reason why was because I was so desperate for somebody to rescue me from this hell that I was living in, you know, that my parents put me through and my kids through. I wanted a better life for me, and I wanted a better life for them. I wanted somebody to love me, and you know, together we would work and have a better life. And that's codependency, because I wasn't, and I realized, you know, that this is not the way to have a relationship with a mate. You know, it's not a way to have a relationship. Mentally healthy people want to be with somebody who can stand on their own 2 feet, who have their life together, who, you know, are happy, you know, that are not dysfunctional. They don't want somebody to come into their life um, that has baggage, you know. And my parents were baggage. They were baggage, serious baggage. And at the time, I wasn't seeing things so clearly. You know, I mean, all that is gone now because these people are dead, and I have a fabulous career, you know, and I'm holding on. I'm taking, I'm financially supporting myself, and I'm taking care of my sister, and I'm very happy. You know, I have wonderful things happening in my life. You know, I said in another video, I'm very very involved with my choir, and um, I'm good. I'm good being by myself. You know, like I don't. I did the online dating thing for a while, not to get off topic, and then I'm like, online dating. It's like you'll hear other YouTubers say it, you know, in the mental health community, um, that online dating is full of narcissists, and believe me, it is. Um, and I've come to accept the fact that the world is much brighter now. It's much brighter because I got a clean home. I can sit and relax when I can walk in the door at night. Um, I am loved, okay, by a very important person, and that's myself. I love myself, okay, and that's good enough. I don't have to prove to anybody that I'm lovable, because I proved it to myself that I'm lovable just by loving me. Do you understand that? And it took a long, long time to understand that. And it took a long, long time to forgive and to heal and to move forward and to accept things, even though they're painful, you know, um, and to just let it go, you know, because the anger, the hurt will just eat up at you if you just don't accept things for what they are and just move on. And so that's it for this video. I think I'm pretty much done with the hoarding series. Um, yeah, so that was the story of growing up being a child of a hoarder. And well, I might do part four. Nope, I think I'm going to do a part four, and I'm going to talk about my little sister's experience from my perspective, not from her perspective, but from my perspective, and how it affected her life. So stay tuned for that in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.